Welcome to the show, folks. Today we're diving into the mayhem happening with Arc Raiders. You know, that extraction shooter that just recently hit over 330,000 concurrent players on Steam, and now it's buckling under its own weight.
I'm really excited to dig into this. It's wild how a game can blow past its own expectations and then um, run into trouble with login queues and matchmaking errors.
Right, so here's the deal. Arc Raiders, having such a huge surge, has now got players stuck in login queues and longer matchmaking times, sometimes 5 to 10 minutes. And it's not just a glitch, it's a sign the servers might not be keeping up with the need.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just isolated on Steam. With the game available on consoles and other storefronts, Embark Studios, the developer, is really dealing with a heavy server load.
Absolutely. And the article mentioned that even though players experience these delays, there's some humor coming out on community forums, like calling the game a queue simulator, and even playful comments about exploding if the servers don't stabilize soon.
That's pretty hilarious. Right, the community seems to be taking it in stride, mostly joking around on Discord and Reddit despite the frustration. But you've got to wonder, shouldn't a game that attracts over 330,000 players be better prepared?
Yeah, it's like, imagine a restaurant that suddenly sees 100 times more guests than it expected and then struggles to seat everyone at the door. You know, the login queue becomes the bottleneck.
Yeah, totally. I get that analogy. And speaking of the bottleneck, there's also mention of issues with forming parties and using voice channels. Why do you think those specific features are so problematic?
Well, it's like adding a few extra ingredients to an already overcooked dish. Those features require real-time communication between servers, and with the influx, every extra request seems to pile on more stress.
So the developers had to implement a temporary login queue to manage the load, right? And that because without it, the servers might just collapse under all the simultaneous logins?
Exactly. It's a classic case of trying to mitigate issues mid-crisis. They put in the queue to prevent things from getting even more chaotic with parties and voice channels malfunctioning. It's a short-term fix, but still quite a headache for players who are just eager to jump into the game.
I mean, long matchmaking times and error messages are never fun when you just want to play, right? And here's a question. Do you think this surge in players was anticipated by Embark Studios?
Well, that's where I can respectfully challenge the optimism of the developers. In my opinion, while the surge is awesome, it shows real interest. It also hints at a lack of scalable planning. They might have underestimated the server demands, considering the game's popularity on multiple platforms.
Exactly. Right, and that's particularly ironic in the gaming world where we expect slick gameplay and seamless connectivity. So, it's a bit of a surprise when you have players waiting in queues for nearly 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And this isn't a minor hiccup. The article even shows a dip in Steam player counts when the queues extended too long, something like from 337,000 down to 286,000 within an hour. That sharp drop is a clear sign that even hardcore fans might be getting frustrated.
Yeah, that's a big fall. Right, and when a game experiences such a drastic player drop off, it not only affects immediate player engagement, but can also impact the game's long term reputation. Imagine being a streamer and having to deal with such interruptions, right?
Absolutely, and it's even more challenging because the game's unique selling point is its slick extraction shooter mechanics, plus those big evil robots. Fans came for the action, and then they're stuck waiting instead of fighting the robots.
It's like you buy a sports car and then find out the engine stalls half the time. Now, what about the developer communication? There was an update on Discord that mentioned longer queue times while they investigate issues with parties and voice channels. How do you see that playing out?
Well, developers being proactive on Discord is key. They're essentially saying, hey, we're aware, we're working on it. But that doesn't really soothe the players who are stuck in a virtual purgatory. It's like you're trying to
Right.
reassemble a car mid-drive.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy. And while it's great that there's communication, it's also a hint they might not have fully optimized the system before the big influx. Do you think there's a larger lesson here for developers launching high demand games?
Oh, for sure. It's like a wake-up call that no matter how polished a game might be, the back-end infrastructure has to be just as robust. It's essentially planning for the worst-case scenario, ensuring that even if more players than expected log in, the game doesn't come crashing down.
Absolutely. Right, and in this case, the infrastructure didn't quite match the hype. Imagine the logistical nightmare for server capacity planning. I wonder if they'll be able to scale properly before the next surge.
Exactly, it's a bit of a catch-22. You want to scale quickly when demand surges, but rapid scaling, especially in live games, can introduce its own set of errors and further delays. It's, like trying to patch an airplane mid-flight.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That really hits home, and it goes to show how important it is, not just for game experience, but for, overall trust in the developer. Players might be willing to wait a few minutes, but if it happens too often, it could affect future reviews and player retention.
Right, trust is really key. And while it's impressive that Arc Raiders pulled such a massive player base, those initial servers need to hold up long-term. Continuous failures can definitely lead to a decline in engagement.
And sometimes, the community feedback can even drive changes. The humor on Discord and Reddit is a double edged sword. While it lightens the mood, it also signals a growing frustration. Do you think the developers should have done more pre launch testing?
I do think so. It seems like this was a bit of an underestimation of player volume in server stress tests. Even for a game with advanced features and a cool concept, if the infrastructure falls apart, it undermines the whole experience. It's like having a great movie with a poor sound system. You're missing half the impact.
Yeah, agreed. And it's interesting that even though the issues might be resolved eventually, they left a mark on the community's memory. Some players might switch to other games if forthcoming updates aren't rapid.
Right, and in today's competitive gaming landscape, one bad experience can swing loyalty away pretty fast, especially when there are so many options for similar gameplay experiences.
Yep, absolutely. And let's not forget the economic aspect. Server downtimes and extended queue times can eventually affect, revenue and future game sales. It's a risky balance the developers have to manage.
Exactly. Revenue and reputation go hand in hand. One exciting launch and a huge player influx can really create sky-high expectations, which, if not met due to technical issues, can be a slippery
Yeah,
slope.
that's right. So, what do you think could be done in the short term to ease these issues? Any ideas on immediate fixes?
Well, for the short term, ramping up temporary server capacity and maybe even redistributing load between different regions could help. Also, a more refined queue system that communicates wait times accurately might reduce player frustration.
Right? And maybe even a bit of bonus content for those stuck in queues could turn a negative into a positive experience. But I have to say, I do wonder if these fixes can keep up with unexpected surges.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. It's like trying to catch a runaway train with a quick patch. It might just slow it down temporarily, but not stop it from causing more trouble later.
Exactly. I appreciate that perspective. It really shows the complexities of running a live online game that suddenly becomes a hit. Handling technical issues in real time and maintaining player trust is no small feat.
Absolutely. And while the developers are working on fixes, and the Discord updates show they're actively investigating the issues, it's clear that robust long-term planning is essential. These situations, though temporary, highlight the need for dynamic scaling solutions in high-demand environments.
Yeah, right. And it also serves as a lesson for other developers. Excitement and hype from the community need to be matched with equally strong backend support to ensure a smooth gaming experience.
Exactly. In the end, Arc Raiders has shown it can attract a massive audience, but now the challenge is to keep everyone happy when it comes to technical performance. Here's hoping the team rebalances things quickly so that players can get back to the adrenaline rush of those big robotic battles
Absolutely,
without
that's
long
the hope.
waits.
Thanks for this deep dive into the technical challenges behind the hype. It sure gives us a lot to think about, especially as the gaming industry continues to evolve.
Yeah, thanks for the great chat. We'll keep an eye on how things develop at Embark Studios and in Arc Raiders. Until next time, keep gaming and stay patient.